Hare Krishna. Hello, people in YouTube world, devotee people. I'm finally back. Internet's been going out a lot, and I don't actually have a physical Gita with me here at this house. But it's okay because we're only looking at one verse, and I've got it on asitis.com. Hare Krishna, without further ado. Wait, no, I should share the screen first. I haven't looked at this in so long. I'm looking forward to the challenge of not being able to tackle a one verse after looking at it in many different ways and talking about it for who knows how long. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. We are at 424. Let's try to say, oh my God, it's so many Brahmas. I remember writing that in my notes. Oh my goodness. All right, let's do the translation. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Yep. As I have to read that again like 2 more times. Let's just go. I can't really share. I got my notes here too. So it's each time I have to change. Is there any other way to do this? Can I? Oh man. All right. Well, we're going to be looking at just the notes then for a while. Yeah. Okay. And I'll read off of the actual Gita verse. But maybe I should keep it. No. If people are actually watching this, we'll want to see the notes, and because I'm going to say different things from the notes anyway. Here we go. Remember, I wrote this down a while ago. Yeah, and if you count it, it's 6 times in this one verse. It's 6 times that the Sanskrit word Brahma is there in the verse, and it's like most or maybe all Gita verses, it's just 4 lines. 6 times. That's more than 1 time in each line of the verse. Yeah, and I never had time to add my Diksha Guru's literal translation in here to help us as well. Darn. Maybe next time. Okay, so first thing I wrote here is the first 2 lines are the hard parts. Sorry for the horrendous grammar. These are just notes, remember. And I'm guessing I should have wrote because, yeah, I wouldn't be talking about the English lines. Or maybe I am. I wish I had that physical book with me. But I'm assuming that means everything from Brahmarpanam down to Hutam. That's the first 2 lines in Sanskrit, at least. Okay, and then, then I wrote in my notes here, the second 2 lines are definitive. And yeah, this happens with a lot of verses where you actually start at the end to understand it and then go backwards up to the beginning. So let's do number 3. Certainly Brahma to be reached. Okay, in the literal translation, the 3rd line is this one. Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam. Oh, Brahmaiva is actually Brahma and Ava. It's a compound. So Ava means certainly. That's a common word we see here in the Gita. Brahma can mean a billion different things. But Prabhupada literally translates it in line 3 as the spiritual kingdom is certainly, and then Tena, by him, to be reached. So certainly Brahma is to be reached. Yeah, okay, and I can see why. So in my notes here, I'm just going to add to Brahma, but what kind of Brahma? It means spiritual kingdom. Number 4, by complete absorption in spiritual activities. So that's pretty clear meaning there. But let's check it out. Brahma karma samadhina. Spiritual activities by complete absorption. Brahma means spiritual in line 4, and then karma activities. Samadhina. So sama in samadhina is probably the same as samadhi. Yeah, it's the same word, isn't it? It's samadhi. So here, let me here it is. So here's one thing maybe a lot of y'all don't do. I'd recommend if you're language nerds like me. See, I wrote with 2 A's there, and then 2 A's over there. That is to indicate it's a long vowel. Fortunately, asitis.com does not have the diacritical marks on it, so I couldn't actually show you that right now. But that is how it is. So samadhina. You literally pronounce it like that. So it's samadhi na. So you take the word samadhi and add na. It's just, I don't know what na means. It's must be a very slight conjugational difference between just samadhi being incomplete absorption. Okay, now, but the tricky part here, are you guys seeing this? Is how line 4 by itself is fine, makes sense, whatever. Line 3 by itself also seems fine. But how do you combine them together in one bigger meaning? That's going to be tricky. Okay, and then here's my for the first 2 lines, my best take at the literal translation at least. And yeah, I wrote later about Prabhupada's purport as well. Of course, we're going to talk about that. But the line number 1 could be literally translated as this: spiritual nature, contribution to Brahma, butter. Super literal, of course, like illegible, right? But it is good to do it this way because look at what sticks out: butter. Butter is a meaningful, good used in sacrifice. So anytime you see like butter or ghee in the Gita, it's like hinting at sacrifice, maybe literally and symbolically. Like, it's just worthy to note that. Let's just go back to line 1 here. It's Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir. That's line 1, which is, I'm now reading from how Prabhupada literally translates it. Spiritual nature, contribution, the supreme butter. Yeah, so the only thing I changed between what Prabhupada did is instead of the supreme, I just wrote Brahma, because that's the theme of this verse. I mean, the word is there so many times, but I've been deleting these notes each time I do a live stream. But if I were to keep them, I would indicate that what does this Brahma mean? The supreme, as opposed to the spiritual kingdom or spirit. I mean, it's slightly different each time. I have no idea how or why, and I'm totally trusting Prabhupada with that, of course. And it's still hard to get the whole meaning of this. And then line 2, spiritual in the fire of consummation by the spirit soul offered. Let's see how I change that. Line 2 is Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam. So spiritual. Agno is like Agni in the fire, consummation. So spiritual in the fire of consummation. Brahmana, in spirit soul, offered. Yep. So if we were to read this verse literally from line 1 to line 4, this is what it would be. Makes no sense. Spiritual nature, contribution, the supreme, butter. Spiritual in the fire of consummation by the spirit soul offered. Certainly, Brahma, spiritual kingdom, to be reached by complete absorption in spiritual activities. See how like by the time we get to the third and fourth line, it's like, oh, okay, we just mean it's an elaboration of the point that Krishna's already been hammering in for quite some time now. Complete absorption in spiritual activities. The tricky part here, yep, it's in line 1 and 2 about what exactly are we offering here? Spiritual in the fire of consummation. Consummation, I guess we could call sacrifice. Like in the sacrificial fire. Okay, I think I'm getting it. We'll see how it compares to my notes we're going to read after this. I haven't even read that yet. I'm just vibing, riffing, whatever. So the spirit soul. So when the soul is in tune with itself and making an offering in that way, you get the supreme. Okay, and then how does that compare with butter? It's like if you offer pure butter, the result is pure ghee, something like that. Brahma karma, spiritual activities versus, yeah, I think the key really is just looking at this, that word Brahma, how it's being modified in each line. 6 times in one verse. My goodness. All right, let's see what I wrote here. This is my purport of the literal translation, whatever that even counts for. The jivas, quote, contributions have a spiritual nature, quote, end quote. Are similar to the absolute nature of an offering of butter into the fire. Okay, so absolute, the key word there that I'm not understanding about my previous understanding. Absolute could also mean pure, I guess, which is kind of what I was saying a second ago. But yeah, I don't understand the ancient sacrifices at all. I don't like how, okay, I think for butter, because it's cow's milk, so it's already offered by the cow. In that sense, it's a pure offering or absolute offering. That's my understanding of it. Oh, okay. Because the jiva is spirit, soul, every offering the jiva does to the supreme soul has that quality to it. But like, for instance, that would be just like karma samadhina. But when we're, instead of just being an ignorant jiva, just offering bad things or in the wrong ways, or just when we do it knowingly, willingly, voluntarily, honestly, in knowledge, etc., when we spiritually, then it's Brahma karma samadhina, as opposed to just karma samadhina. Okay, the next thing I wrote was interesting. After doing all this, I noticed Prabhupada's translation flows just like mine. Lines 3 and 4 first, then 1 and 2. So now let's go back to the English. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities. Yep, that's clearly line 3 and 4. Spiritual kingdom to be reached, complete absorption. He used the exact same words. Or yeah, about the same. Fully absorbed versus like completely absorbed. Is that the difference? Yeah, complete absorption versus fully absorbed. We can call that the same. We can call that the same language. And I mean that in a good way. Because each time you translate it, it gets harder to understand. But at the same time, if you don't translate it at all, it's like, well, I don't know Sanskrit. No, anyone who doesn't know not only Sanskrit, but like really advanced Vedic Sanskrit to be able to parse the difference between how the word Brahma is used 6 different times in this one verse. That must be a rare skill even among, so many people in India. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom. Yep, that's line 3 and 4. Because of his full contribution to spiritual activities. That's line 1. In which the consummation is absolute, and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. That's the key right there. That I keep trying. There's, what is a word for this? Anyway, that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. That's the key to it right there. And that's line 2. Line 2 is where it hinges right there. Spiritual in the fire is like the spirit soul, how it offers it. But that only happens when you're fully absorbed in it. So you're fully absorbed in Krishna conscious activities. And by being fully absorbed in it, then the offering becomes pure as well. And the whole thing is one complete circuit. Something like that. Circuit, is that the best word? Okay. And then I wrote here next, Prabhupada's translation notes, quote, the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. And then I wrote, the butter is completely offered into the fire materially and spiritually. Similarly, when we put all our effort into Brahma karma, it's the same effect. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. That's what I just said, but written down. Okay. Next, if we half a word it may be akin to offering saltine crackers into the fire. It's a lesser offering. Well, that's a guna quip. What's the word? Saltine crackers, right? Tamasic, as not a good offering compared to butter. The offering must be of the right kind. Butter is best. Fruits good, stale bread bad. And done in the right consciousness. The right consciousness is, I believe, why Krishna is using the word Brahma so many times here. He's telling us to keep it simple and focus on the one that is truly the one. There it is. Now we're getting somewhere. How do I maintain my spiritual life? How do I keep doing my sadhana? How do I do but this and but that? No, it's just Brahma, 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 Brahma. That's what Krishna's saying here. And then in the purport, this I'm summarizing what Prabhupada is saying, and then I'll read the purport in its full after this. But Brahman means spiritual. This is the Lord's nature. His rays are Brahma Jyoti. When the Jyoti are covered by Maya, it becomes material. That veil can be removed by Krishna consciousness. Thus, the offering for the sake of Krishna consciousness, the consuming agent of the contribution, the process of consumption, the contributor, and the result, all are combined together. Brahman, absolute truth. There we go. Thank you, Prabhupada. We'll thank him again later as well. It's all one thing. Normally, it's not all one thing. That's why Prabhupada listed all these different things: the offering, the agent, the process, the result, the contributor. Normally, they're not all lined up. Maybe like the contributor is the right person, but the process was wrong, and then the result was even worse. Okay, totally common, understandable offering that can happen. But to get all of it perfectly is Brahman, the absolute truth. So as soon as you know it, as soon as you know this one Brahman that Krishna is talking about, I mean just in concept, which I don't think is hard, but let's see how I'll do it now to explain it in words. I'm like, see, normally I focus on Paramatma, which has so many different, is expanded so much as opposed to the rays, the Brahma Jyoti, which are seems more like Brahman to me. What Krishna's talking about here, the oneness of everything. Moving on. Final quote of my notes here. Matter dovetailed for the cause of the AT regains its spiritual quality. What's AT? Well, let's read the purport. Jai Srila Prabhupada. How activities in Krishna consciousness can lead one ultimately to the spiritual goal is described here. There are various activities in Krishna consciousness, and all of them will be described in the following verses. But for the present, just the principle of Krishna consciousness is described. A conditioned soul entangled in material contamination is sure to act in the material atmosphere, and yet he has to get out of such an environment. The process by which the conditioned soul can get out of the material atmosphere is Krishna consciousness. Or to quote Krishna in this verse, so when Prabhupada writes Krishna consciousness in this sentence, I believe he's talking about that final line there, Brahma Karma Samadhina, spiritual being full samadhi, right? Full absorption in Brahma, spiritual activities. That's Krishna consciousness. Be it like, waking up and then you do everything you do is just for Krishna the whole time. Brahma karma samadhina. For example, a patient who is suffering from a disorder of the bowels due to overindulgence in milk products is cured by another milk product, namely curds. I think another instances Prabhupada mentions yogurt. But anyway, this is a recurring example he uses, and it's the perfect example to describe the hardest part of this verse, which is line 2 there. Brahmagno, the fire. Oh my God, really hard stuff. Okay, more by Prabhupada. The materially absorbed conditioned soul can be cured by Krishna consciousness as set forth here in the Gita. This process is generally known as Jagya. I wish I had the marks on it. Jagya. I believe that's the best way to say it. Sacrifices, simply meant for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna. The more the activities of the material world are performed in Krishna consciousness, or for Vishnu only, the more the atmosphere becomes spiritualized by complete absorption. Yeah, it's actually a very simple verse. But I'm still struggling so hard to really get the inside joke or something that Krishna is giving us here. There's a linguistic thing happening here, which I'm not catching. Anyway, more by Prabhupada. Brahman means spiritual. The Lord is spiritual, and the rays of his transcendental body are called the Brahma Jyoti, his spiritual effulgence. Everything that exists is situated in that Brahma Jyoti, but when the Jyoti is covered by illusion, Maya, or sense gratification, it is called material. The material veil can be removed at once by Krishna consciousness. Thus, the offering for the sake of Krishna consciousness, the consuming agent, this is what I mentioned earlier, the process, the contributor, result, all combined together, Brahman or absolute truth. The absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. That's a really powerful sentence right there. One more time. The absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. Oh, AT. This is what I quoted. AT means absolute truth. Matter dovetailed for the cause of the absolute truth regains its spiritual quality. Keyword there, regains. It's already there. So by removing the covering, you discover and regain the original thing, which is Brahman, which is Krishna, etc. Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman or the Supreme. Oh, God, another beautiful sentence by Prabhupada here. Because remember, Krishna consciousness, this word, the way Prabhupada's using it in different contexts, all throughout the Gita, just like what Krishna's doing, like how he'll use Brahma 6 times in this one verse, and it means slightly different. It means Krishna consciousness in just different ways, in 6 different ways. But other times they use another word like vidya, and Prabhupada will say, "Oh, vidya means Krishna consciousness here." So there's so many different ways of saying the same thing. But I agree with Prabhupada. The overall best way to put it into 2 words is Krishna consciousness. And what is Krishna consciousness? It's that process by which we discover, we take off the covering of Maya from ourselves, from the world around us, etc., to regain the spiritual quality that's already there on the bottom and top and middle of everything. When the mind is, more by Prabhupada, when the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be in samadhi or trance. Okay, now that is samadhi. When he mentions it here, Prabhupada is clearly, I believe, hinting or winking at the word Krishna uses here, samadhina, by complete absorption. I really, guys, I love doing it like this because I sometimes leave just enough time in between when I read this and I present it again, where it feels like I'm discovering it again. But I mean, I actually already wrote down all this stuff in the notes about that samadhi. It does mean what it means in the verse. It's not actually like samadhi na is not a different. It's just samadhi with na. Changes it a little bit, but moving on. More by Prabhupada. Anything done in such transcendental consciousness is called yajna, or sacrifice for the absolute. Which word is closest to the sacrifice? Arpanam? Hutam is offered. Okay, more by Prabhupada. So anything that we do within Krishna consciousness could be called yajna. And in that condition of spiritual consciousness, the contributor, the contribution, consumption, performer, leader of performance, the result, the ultimate gain, everything becomes one in the absolute, the supreme Brahman. That is the method of Krishna consciousness. My God, it's so simple. Oh, so simple. Krishna is just saying, here I am. It's me. I'm the one and the everything. And if you want to come join me, come on down. Offer everything to me. Be with me. And then you get me. So we have to start wherever we are. So like if you know if you've read chapter 9 verse 26 and you know Krishna would love to accept a fruit, a flower, a leaf, or some water with some love and devotion, and you have a flower, but you don't know the right mantra that Krishna has prescribed to say it during the offering with the correct number of this and that, that's okay. You can still offer, and it's great. But for everything to be one, to be completely absorbed, samadhina, in Brahma karma, in Krishna consciousness, we got to know where we are and keep going from there. So so this hypothetical, this is my former self I'm referring to. Those are my offerings that I really cherish in my memory because there was just pure heart, because I genuinely didn't know how to offer something to Krishna. So I could only offer from my heart and my knowledge of the Gita. I didn't actually have anything else. But once you know a routine, a ritual, a precise way to do it, even if it's correct, sometimes you might cut corners, you might modify it or do it sometimes and not others. I mean, or maybe you do it perfectly, but it's just then it becomes just a ritual, and then you've lost entirely the what is the word? There's a lot of words used. The process contributor and the result consuming agent. That could be what I was referring to. The consuming agent of the contribution. Just forgot what I was saying. Darn. I'm just trying to stay on the text, man. Oh, man. Probably wasn't a great presentation. People are bored if they watch this, but I think I'm pretty happy with how this went. I should finish that other thought I just had. What was it? Yeah, so we all like Brahma, 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 Brahma. So, and okay, once again, going back to just basic yoga, not too much, not too little, that can solve all our problems. So when things become too ritualized, we bounce back in the opposite direction by foregoing some ritual to get our heart back in the game. Although you don't have to, like, you can just change the thing you're doing. Like if you are not in the right state of consciousness to do an offering, like offer some bhoga, but kirtan would be better, then you can just do kirtan. And then when you're ready for the offering, you go back to the offering. There's many different ways you can just stay in Brahma Karma Samadhi now. But the key is you don't get lost in any of those techniques or skills. That's the key with all of this is you just, what's the end goal? Brahma. That's the moral of the story of this verse is Brahma. Do you know Brahma? Do you know what he is, who he is? We are a part of him and this and that. So once you know that, oh yeah, I was going to try and define that. So Brahma is like every jiva and the universe as well. Brahma is everything. I might define it within this verse. I might define Brahma or Brahman as the supreme being the thing that doesn't have Maya. So, yeah, Brahman is that world and that state of consciousness, eternally present, which is pure and absolute and is not covered by nonsense. That's the goal, and that's already where we are in a latent sense. So we have to do the work to discover, clean the mirrors and all that, and it just gets more and more pure until it's pure, and then no more and then. Okay, we'll stop there. No idea when I'll see you next, but one of these days I will be done with, done like, well, I'll never come back to it again, but every single verse in the Gita live streamed. Why not? Haribol, Hare Krishna.